Lap 49.
Yes, and looking at the way Senna is struggling to catch Lauda, I think probably with all the bumping and banging around, that his car isn't quite in the same top form that it was before, and who can blame it? Senna remains to be seen. We'll watch that gap if and when he can get past Lauda, but that seems a big enough problem for him right now without worrying about Rosberg out ahead. Rosberg, of course, will know from his pit the gap, the relative differences, and is in a happy position of being able to control the race from the front.
And 3 out of the top 6 are in their last Grand Prix in one way or another. Rosberg, the leader, is in his last Grand Prix for Williams. Lauda in the red and white McLaren is in his last Grand Prix before retirement. Derek Warwick in 5th position is in his last Grand Prix for Renault, and we wonder whether he's going to get a drive next year. Incidentally, while you watch the battle for second between Lauda and Senna, I will tell you that it has been officially announced that the Tollman team are going to use German BMW engines next year, and that Theo Fabi has re-signed for the team, which will be known as the Benetton team next year.
Niki Lauda, this is pre-recorded just while we were in commercial. He tucked in behind him on the main street, he came alongside him, and he did him under braking. So Ayrton Senna has climbed up the slippery ladder that he's been on all day. He's got himself back into 2nd position. Keke Rosberg still leads. Ayrton Senna is 2nd. Niki Lauda is 3rd. Michele Alboreto is 4th. Derek Warwick is 5th. And we'll go back to Murray Walker and James Hunt.
Now the gap to come back. It's a question of whether Senna can actually catch him when Rosberg is trying that out. So we will watch and wait and see.
Mark Surer is out of the Australian Grand Prix. So is Boutsen, so is Prost, so is Tombe and Jones. Elio De Angelis, who was black flagged. Nelson Piquet, Martini, and Derek Warwick is still in 5th position behind Alboreto. Warwick has been lapped, Alboreto hasn't, and you see the gap between Rosberg and Senna is a bit less than it was. It was some 30 seconds, and I was hypothesising that Rosberg would slow up a bit. We don't know whether that gap reduction is due to Rosberg slowing up or Senna crowding on the pace. Derek Warwick is in 6th position, my apologies, because Jacques Lafitte has got ahead of him to 6th place, and Senna is really trying now. You can see, having got ahead of Lauda, that he's pulling away.
Don't like the look of Senna's rear tyres. I think the car's been oversteering a bit. It looks a little bit loose at the back, and it looks as if his rear tyres have maybe grained up a little. But let's hope not, because it's going to be exciting watching him chase Rosberg. Lauda is still holding on very well behind him, and in fact both of them are catching Rosberg, so I suspect, yes, that left rear tyre that we're looking at now, you see the grain, the tread should be shiny all the way across, and his right rear. However, at the moment, he may be able to clean that tyre up by looking after it, because sometimes you can, once it's worn down a little bit, it will smooth up again. The tyre should be smooth, not ripply. That darker effect where it isn't shiny is where it's rippling. The rubber is rippling, and that means that it's not giving the maximum possible grip.
Piquet, by the way, who went out quite a long time ago, suddenly had his cockpit filled with smoke, and knowing the danger of fire in what is virtually a high-speed mobile petrol tanker, wisely stopped, and his teammate Mark Surer had his left tyre go, and in the process of trying to do something about it, the engine stopped and he couldn't get it going again. And Lauda's definitely catching Senna.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that is because Senna is in trouble with his rear tyres, and Rosberg is back in the pits.
Yes, Keke Rosberg back in the pits. This is amazing. Now let's have a look and see what the problem is. He's obviously concerned about tyres. Right front off, left rear off, all of them off. He's got a very considerable lead, of course, 28 seconds, and he can still put on new tyres and get out again. But this is the second time that Keke Rosberg has been in for tyres.
And problem with one of the front wheels. The left front is jammed on, and Senna has gone through. So Senna is back in the lead, but I tell you what, Niki Lauda is right behind Senna, and Lauda, I suspect, is the healthier of those two, because he's not in tyre trouble. I think Senna's going to have to come back in unless he can nurse them, and Rosberg is probably in range to catch them, especially on a fresh set, if he looks after them. He will know. Now, Rosberg is experienced. He will know that he's got to bring these tyres in gently, because that's what Senna didn't do, and that's probably what he didn't do last time. Those rear tyres on Senna's are being a bother. And Lauda, whose tyres look very nice and is taking it very steadily as he does, is suddenly, with conservative application, looking very much one of a joint favourite to win this race, if not favourite.
Well, my problem is I want them all to win, but wouldn't it be marvellous if Niki Lauda won the last Grand Prix of his career? And he certainly could do it. Here he comes in the McLaren. That would certainly seal the Constructors' Championship in the nicest possible way for the McLaren team.
And wouldn't that be a perfect lesson for Ayrton Senna, the wily old champion, showing him just what you can do with brains rather than brawn. And because we know that Ayrton, and you can even see his car snaking on the straight. These rear tyres are definitely causing him trouble. And that will be a lovely lesson for Senna, because Senna is definitely a future champion. And Niki Lauda will just give him a nice last time out.
There is only 11.8 seconds between Ayrton Senna in the lead and Keke Rosberg, who is in third place on the 55th lap. We are going to see an absolutely superb closing lap situation between these three great drivers, with Niki Lauda now right on the rear, on the gearbox of Senna's car, and he's in a good position to nip out of the slipstream of the Lotus on the straight and get through into the lead in the last Grand Prix of 1985 here at Adelaide, in a race that's been full of excitement, drama and interest, and Lauda's in not quite the position now to go through, but not far off it.
Yes, I think Niki made a tactical error there. I think he should have dropped back a little bit as they came onto the straight and swung it in much harder, because he does need to pass Senna soon, because Rosberg, when he brings these new set of tyres in, with only some 10 plus seconds, there are 11 seconds in it, Lauda really needs to get past Senna and get away, because Senna will be holding him up now, and Rosberg will catch him too quickly.
Niki Lauda, of course, hasn't been in for new tyres. He's a wonderfully smooth driver, is Niki, and if anybody can make a set of tyres last the whole race, it will be him. He may well be on the B compound, which is harder than the C compound, which is the softest of all, and that could give him the advantage. And now he's certainly getting close to being in a position to draft past Senna on the Brabham Straight, the longest and fastest straight of any street circuit, where they do over 300 kilometres, 200 miles an hour.
It's this corner. He wants to be dropped back a little bit. There's Nelson Piquet in the pits now. Lauda is a bit close. He wants to get a slingshot at Senna, but he's better positioned than he was on the last lap, and I think he's going to be able to duck out. Yeah, here he comes. Senna's not fighting back, because he knows that he's in tyre trouble, and Lauda looking supremely smooth. Of course, the other thing is Lauda can afford now to drive hard on his tyres, which the others can't, because they've got that much meat off them. They don't have the same potential heat build-up. Now you see that the tread faces on Lauda's tyres are nice and smooth. There's no grading, and compare it with the left rear of Ayrton Senna's. Although I think Senna's tyres are cleaning up. They look better now than they did a few laps ago, and it is possible to rescue a damaged tyre if you're very careful with it, and I think that is what Ayrton Senna's trying to do.
Lap 57, and in his 171st Grand Prix, after not qualifying well, being 16th on the starting grid, Niki Lauda has shown all the brilliance that we know and has driven through to the lead with 25 laps to go if the race goes the full 82 lap distance as opposed to 2 hours. And Lauda now coming up to the